Most of the time I usually do lawn tractor builds. I build off-road power wheels, I build mud mowers, I build extreme miniature vehicles and stuff like that. But when I come across a tool I think is useful to everybody else, I do a tool review. Today we're sitting here with a Hercules HE61S grinder. Now it's supposedly a 7 amp grinder, and one thing that I will tell you, having been around a few grinders in my time, is that you really want to have a 6 amp to a 7 amp grinder when you're dealing with a lot of metalworking and stuff. And the reason being is because it'll keep the blade RPM up while you're cutting through hard stuff and not decide to bog down and end up catching the blade and throwing you, snapping your wrist, doing all kinds of other stuff. Now, one thing that Harbor Freight loves to claim is that they supposedly do not clone other people's tools, but if you've seen my skill saw review, I would say that's probably fake. But let's take a look at the Hercules. So I'm going to bring the camera over, show you a couple of close-ups, and we'll go from there. Hi! The first thing I'd like to go and say before we open this up is that nobody sponsors this video. The only sponsor is my wife, because she bought this for me for my birthday. Harbor Freight, if you're seeing this review, I hope you enjoy the fact that it's unlike your fake reviews. So, let's get started. The box itself it's a box. It's flimsy as can be and definitely not the highest quality, but I don't care about the box, I care about what's inside of it. So let's push this open, see if we can't get it in there. There we go. Now, I'm not really too worried about directions when it comes to a grinder like this, because grinders are pretty much all the same. So we're going to lift it out of the package. We've got our bar handle that goes with it. And the other thing that it has with it is a grinding disc. These things are probably the most worthless disc that anybody could ever include. And that's it for what's in the box. Alright, so the real reality is this is probably junk, and I'll throw it on the wall along with my, from what I can see here, 9 other ones. And I will probably replace it with a regular cutoff disc like these that come from Harbor Freight. They work really nice, but my latest thing has been these diamond tip blades. And I'll post a link for the Amazon account that I bought them from. But they're amazing. They're diamond tip. They cut through just about anything. And the one thing that I will warn you about is that they throw shards. Now, moving back onto this. We've got our usual handle. And I'm betting that it's probably just regular universal thread. Got our brushes. Always nice to have in case you drop it and mess them up. Regular generic handle. Now, I'm 6'1", I have pretty decent size hands. That actually fits really comfortably. It's actually pretty well tightened in. We're going to grab another random grinder here. Does not fit. Oh, does not fit. So it didn't fit that grinder, but I'm going to grab another grinder because I'd like to call out Harbor Freight for the fact that you guys like to clone tools. Kind of. Specifically, they seem to target skill. And the one thing I'll tell you is they did in this case also. And it's this clip piece. On a skill, it's this direction. On this, it's the same idea. So, congratulations, you cloned the skill idea. Even including the teeth that lock it in place. But the rest of it looks nothing like a skill grinder. But it does happen to look exactly like a Bosch. It's a little bit thinner, a little bit longer, but the whole entire design is basically Bosch. Including the button, which uses the same setup Bosch does. But it's nice. I will tell you one thing, is that it's very nice that it's thinner. this Bosch one here that it looks a lot like. Is a much thicker unit. It's harder to one-hand hold. This is much thinner. Now, this type of button locks in place easily. You punch it and it comes loose. Whereas on a skill, you have this type and you have to press it forward and then come up and over in some sort of chaotic carnival type idea and then set it free. I hate these. Anybody that makes grinders with those should be drug out in the street and shot. If you want precision control, trigger like this on this really old Power Glide, they don't make these anymore. That's why this one has been rigged and chopped back together multiple times, are great. This is the older style Chicago Electric, which is what this basically replaces. And I like this trigger aspect here. It's very nice, it's easy to control. The one thing I'll note though is that this is thicker, and yet again comes into the aspect this is easier to hold on to. The other thing I'm noticing as I grab this is that they've designed a lump here which fits your fingers into that area. Now whether that was on purpose or not, I don't know, but it's a nice feature. Now, here's one thing I'd like to point out is the key for taking these off. You set it in there, you turn it, and you unchuck it, which is all well and good. Except for, I'd like to point out that I'm glad, whoop, upside down. I would like to point out that I'm glad they went with this style. If you ever see a grinder that has the style where it's just a flat bar and two nubs in a row, they probably are the cheapest thing you could ever imagine. So we punch that button down, we rotate this till it clicks, click, and we push that on, and then we let go of the button, and there we go. Alright, so I'm going to do some test cuts with this for the end of the video, but as far as the way the tool looks and its design, I actually really like it. I think it'll come in handy. The trigger setup on it I don't think will ever be comfortable to use with gloves on. So that's kind of a iffy situation there. I would really prefer to deal with the Chicago Electric style of push back and pull that. I like this, it's much easier to control. In the future though, I'll be looking for a grinder that has this trigger setup. I like it much better, it gives a lot more control and allows you to have two hands worth of torque on it that's really easy to do from many different angles. So let's grab a cutoff blade and do a couple of things. Alright, so we got a nice piece of 3/4 inch spindle shaft out of a lawn tractor, like what you'd have to cut off if it was all gummed up in the spring. We got a random piece of 1/8 steel, probably off of an MTD lift arm. I tend to cut them up for a lot of different things. No problem there. So, spring steel bed iron is something that a lot of people pick up as a first time welding project piece of steel. Let's see how we do on this. that catch up you saw there was because I was trying to angle it so you guys on the camera could see it, but that cut great. So there we go. We're all done for this video. Have fun, guys.